Hi, everyone, and welcome to our second edition of MedTech Mindshare, a forum where leading experts meet to discuss the trends shaping innovation in medical device manufacturing. Thank you all for joining us. I'm Jodie Gilmore, and I'm your host today for our discussion we've titled Mind the Gap, where we will explore ways to leverage strategic partnerships to drive portfolio innovations. Together with our expert guests, we will discuss changes that are happening in medtech innovation. Where in the past it was mostly about making core product and supporting it with strong clinical results and skilled surgeons, today these core products are still important, but it's often just one part of a much bigger ecosystem, which also includes elements such as navigation tools, software, data, robotics, improved or disposable workflows, and new care locations such as ASCs. And all of this is being impacted by tougher changing regulations. Innovations are now evaluated in the context of value-based care, where healthcare providers are consistently finding themselves under pressure to deliver more with less. A friend and industry colleague of mine recently said quite poignantly, every innovation cycle ends with a patient in need. And this is why bringing new products to market quickly really matters. In today's world, outsourcing isn't just about cutting costs. It's about finding partners who can speed up that innovation, turn those ideas into prototypes and prototypes into products and products into full-scale production, all while maintaining quality, cost control, IP protection, and of course, regulatory compliance. I'm thrilled we have three different expert perspectives for you today, discussing what this looks like in the real world. We have an OEM voice, a CDMO perspective, and a regulatory expert to share their views on how to outsource or partner in ways that help OEMs stay competitive, especially as innovation cycles are accelerating. I'm thrilled to introduce Vincent Lefauconnier, who is a dynamic entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience in medical device product innovation, M&A, and business development, and is the founder and CEO of Neo Medical. Welcome, Vincent. We also welcome Bassil Akra, who brings more than 20 years of deep clinical, quality, and regulatory experience and supports various stakeholders within the healthcare ecosystem as the CEO and owner of Akra Team GmbH. Welcome, Bassil. And Gautam Gupta, who brings nearly 20 years of experience within MedTech, having served on both the OEM and CDMO sides of the fence, and is currently our Chief Commercial and Portfolio Officer for Orthopedics at Elos Medtech. Gentlemen, welcome, and thanks for joining us today. And with that, let's jump into our discussion. One thing I would like to point out for everyone in the audience is that we welcome an open dialogue and lively discussions. So if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to put those into the comment section in the chat section, and we're happy to get to those. So let's start. My first question is for Gautam. What are you seeing in the market right now, and how is that changing what OEMs need?
Yeah, Jodie, thanks for having me. Welcome to the other panelists as well as the guests who spend their time here with us. So we appreciate it. Jodie, having been in the industry on both sides of the fences, if you will, one thing that I have seen which is common is the center of it is all about patient care. At the end, everybody is very motivated to bring the best product to the market for the surgeons and for the patients. One thing I have also seen across all these years is the med device industry is one of the most innovation-focused industry, and we are always trying to improve in partnership with the different stakeholders, whether it's the surgeons, whether it's the supply chain partners, internal manufacturing, technology partners. Everybody's always trying to find a way to make it better and more efficient. So two things that I'm seeing that are common are innovation is at the center of a growth strategy for all the companies, big and small. And the second thing is speed of innovation is still very critical and actually becoming even more important in today's time as more, like more technologies like additive manufacturing or AI-based tools, which are now being developed, start to level the playing field and give startups an advantage for speed, which earlier was not available. So the larger OEMs also have to start becoming more nimble. So what I'm seeing is, like you mentioned at the introduction, back in the day, it used to be all about implants and instruments, and they are eventually the way the patients are served in the OR. But today, even though they remain a focus, but no longer the most important things are actually supporting the implants and instrument designs, etc., in like navigation, robotics, AI-based, data-driven platforms, smart implants. In the US, especially considerations about ASCs, then the regulatory landscape changing so rapidly around us in the last few years with MDR and things like that. And what I see in all of this is the complexity of innovation has changed dramatically. So if the complexity changes, the speed sometimes suffers if you want to maintain the quality. And what I also see is when I talk to the OEMs, a lot of focus is on how do we justify and rationalize the resource allocation across all of these R&D things that we have to do. So you have expert engineers who have spent 20 years and are really good in designing implants and instruments, but now you need a new generation that has focused on AI and focused on smart implants and data optimization. And sometimes the intersection between the two is very hard and it takes time. And also, you can only hire so many people. So the R&D medtech device companies are also struggling how to optimize all of this complexity and still be able to bring products to the market as fast as possible. So I feel like the nature of innovation is changing a little bit, and also there is a little bit of a shift from OEMs thinking we can do it all to saying how do we partner with strategics outside of our four walls to bring these new products to the market.
Great. Thanks, Gautam. So Bassil, from your regulatory perspective, what do you think is driving innovation decisions, and how has that what has changed in the landscape in your opinion?
Thank you so much, Jodie, for this question. And I think what I can start with, let me focus on the European system, starting by actually the experience that we did in Europe, because this is, I always hear, like when we talk about bad experience, the word MDR is cited. And let me start by going back in the history and saying we had a directive system, so MDD, IMDD at that time, where manufacturers were actually targeting the European system because of the flexibility and the predictability of the system. We had some bad experience with that system, so the European legislator decided to move toward EU MDR, which was published in 2017, with the main intention actually to increase safety, improve performance, while actually supporting innovation. Reality, the past 9 years of experience were actually that the innovation was killed by the new legislation because it became a system which is unpredictable, a system which is actually leading to high expectation on innovative devices, leading manufacturers to actually target different jurisdictions to get their approval. Now, after 9 years, the European legislator decided to actually reopen the system and say, how can we be more attractive? How can we be actually innovator drivers? And to be able to be innovator driver, you need to give them clear rules. You need to give them accelerated pathway to get to the market. You need to give them as well opportunity to talk and be supported during the process, not just actually getting expectation, which are actually black box. You need to be more transparent about the expectation. And you need to allow them as well to have an ability to get their product tested on the market in a less complex manner. Let me cite one legislator who said, like, it took him actually many years to say that, but they were actually after 5 years stating the European system is actually an administrative monster. And now when last year the publication happened to a new proposal, legislators are saying we are moving from an old-fashioned regulation to a smarter regulation, while keeping safety of the patient in the focus. So you recognize now the competition is happening on a global scale, that the global legislator started recognizing if we keep actually over-regulating, we are killing innovation. And innovation is faster than we can believe. And we cannot tackle with regulation how the innovation is running. And if we want to get the innovation actually coming to the market on time, we need to give them an opportunity to stress test. And this is why Europe, for example, now with the proposal that we have on the table is including a sandbox system toward actually supporting emerging technologies, which shows actually that the European legislators started to recognize there is the need to support innovators, and those are the driver of the future. So we need to work on it. So regulation should not be actually the bottleneck, it should be enabler. And this is what I see actually how regulatory field as well as innovation can be connected to each other.
Wow, that's actually really fascinating. And what you say, they're taking regulatory as a barrier, and now they're trying to embrace it as how can they enable innovation, which it was great. All doing while making sure that risk and patient needs are fully met. So yeah, great point. Vincent, you chose a strategic partnership route, and so can you talk us through a little bit about what that path that you've taken and what was driving your portfolio decisions and why you chose a strategic partner route?
Hi, everybody. Well, I mean, the choice for us was mostly guided by resources to begin with. I think the idea was to try to be as efficient as possible early on and get the expertise where it was. And obviously internalizing all this expertise at different level very early on, even so we have incredible people within the company, was impossible, or hardly impossible. So the idea was really to bring this expertise when we needed it. And it started actually even before starting with manufacturing, R&D, or these kind of things. It started with regulatory. We brought a company actually that is a Swiss one that helped us on the regulatory side. The idea behind was, well, we could hire a regulatory expert, but then the problem is because of the complexity of our business, because of the fact that we need to address multiple different regulatory pathway. Whether it's we're talking about the MDR in Europe, we're talking about the FDA in the US, the CFDA in China, etc., etc. The idea was to be able to have access to multiple different experts when we need it, and not have them all the time on board. So it's really a question of resources initially that drove it. But then when it came to products and technology, the idea is a little bit different. The innovation was starting within us. I mean, we have, within the company, we have people that with who I've been working since over 20 years, with who we are, building the idea, or what we call the working prototype. Let's call it like this. And then once we were happy with the technology or the idea behind, then we were to find the right partner that will partner with us, not only in R&D actually, but really going through the whole 9 yards, if you will, going to manufacturing, design transfer, like basically everything that we need to do and to have if we want to bring a product to the market. But it goes, like every single part of the company of Neo, we've been trying to externalize everything that was not absolutely how do you say it? Where the onboarding the expertise was not absolutely necessary. And I think this is what has been guiding us mostly when we were, building these different bricks for the company.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, Vincent. I think obviously all of us wish we had endless resources, right? That it was never a question of having enough dollars or people to be able to get a project across the line and as quickly as we might like. So everyone would obviously love to be able to see out their entire portfolio and their product pipeline as quickly as everyone would want. But the concept of this strategic partnerships being able to be a force multiplier, I think is really good. And it's important for everyone to kind of consider how they can do that. Bassil, my question for you is at what point, so would companies typically bring someone such as yourself in? And what are the common problems that they would ask you to solve as part of that partnership?
Yeah, if we focus now on, this is a very good question, and I would focus now on innovator, on startups who want to actually create something new, because typically people will involve an external in case they have trouble or they face challenges. But innovator struggle in a lot of times not knowing, not predicting what would be the outcome of actually the regulatory approval process, trying to understand how can we mitigate the risk and make sure that we are doing what is actually expected to be done in an efficient and actually predictable manner. And this is where they try to get actually expertise from people who did the work before, who had experience, who saw actually multiple opportunity to succeed, because they want to increase their success rate. They want to ensure that they don't plan a clinical study or plan a protocol for testing, which leads to actually repetition afterwards, because regulators or notified bodies will tell them you didn't do the right thing. So they want to actually get a predictable outcome. And this is why they ask consultants, especially in Europe. In the US, you can talk with FDA in advance. You can have pre-submission meeting. You can have discussion. Europe moved in the past, years toward a very stringent system where people are not talking to you in a very open way because they are not allowed. And therefore, European manufacturers or innovators who want to target Europe, they want to have some clarity. And this is where actually expert will help them actually preparing their system, ensuring they get actually better outcome at the end, and making sure that they are doing the right things. Because the worst thing that you can do as an innovator, if you get like a budget which is limited, that you spend your money in the wrong way, and then afterwards someone will tell you, nice try, repeat it again. Then you don't have any opportunity to redo it, because your holistic actually budget is actually killed by the activities, and you tried your best to be successful, and then at the end someone will tell you it doesn't work. Now, other cases are people will come in where they recognize they are actually in trouble, and this is where it is actually the reaction after they get the feedback of regulators, like, how can I fix what I have created? And this is where expert will be typically included. But we have also opportunities, and this is what actually Vincent was mentioning, where companies, they say, we buy the expertise from the beginning. We don't want to actually try to develop every single expertise internally. So we hire actually external consultants from the beginning to guide us. And this is a kind of risk mitigation on the strategy to say, we don't need to do everything internally. We are the innovator, we are the designer, we are developer. But if we need help, we try to have an ecosystem which help us actually achieving success. And this is where a lot of actually planning organization deal with such a situation, because they say, we know what we know and we know what we don't know, and therefore why shall we deal with things we don't know? So we focus on our knowledge and allow others that are knowledgeable to help us shaping our future in most efficient manner.
Yeah, great points, Bassil. I know it can be very difficult to lean on external sources. I know, directly from my own perspective, having, had my own business for so many years, it's very difficult sometimes to lean on outside experts because you always know you're willing to kind of bet on yourself, but it requires a lot of trust and confidence in the skill sets of those partners. So very much so. And on those lines, Gautam, I'll point this next question to you. You've said earlier that OEMs want more than just a widget maker. And so in your mind, what does a strategic partner add concretely beyond just manufacturing, just making the widget? Gautam, you're on mute. There you go. We're good.
Sorry. Yeah, I would say I'd start, Jodie, by creating a small visual of two concentric circles. And I think this is what Vincent was also earlier talking about, that where do the OEMs focus on in terms of resource allocation, and where do they look for strategic partnership? So the way I think about it is, there is a central core, and then there is an outside ecosystem that exists to support that core, which also includes products. So if I'm a big OEM, and last 100 years I've been focused on making knees and hips, I have that figured out. I don't need somebody else to come tell me what the next generation uni knee or a new knee or a new hip system would look like. More or less, I have all the patents which I can use to come up with new innovation. But as the complexity is increasing and as the resources are being optimized, there is that little outside of the core, there is this other circle. And there are a lot of products that fall. These are like satellites circling the center of the central planet. And a lot of time these satellites have become old. A lot of time these satellites have not been able to renewed based on either technology or just because resources were focused on something else. But now some of these things have to be, if it's being used in a surgery where navigation has to be used, that device has to be updated so that it now participates along with the other things that are being changed. So as I think about the partnerships, the strategic partnerships, the OEMs are still focused on hiring the top talent and focusing them on, say, on generating the next generation implant, instrument, even robotic assisted surgeries for devices focused on that. But then as they look for some of these other things that have to be brought along, that is where they are starting to look outside a little bit more initially, and saying that, look, that has to come along. I need somebody else to take care of that while I focus my resources on the core things that I need to work on. And so that's where I see discussions happening where advanced minded contract manufacturing organizations are brought in to start discussing projects. And it's no longer about, can you make me this widget? It's more about, look, we are focused on this. This is our timeline. This is our strategy. But this particular product has to come along and fit inside. So now we, as contract manufacturing organizations, are looking at that need and saying, okay, what will be the supply chain strategy? What would be the regulatory strategy? Who owns what would be the IP strategy? What's the cost strategy? Which part of the globe is it best for sourcing that particular product? And sometimes it's more than one. So now the decision making is more becoming, I think, more strategic than just make this widget in China or in some part in US or some part in Mexico, but it's becoming more about, here is my core strategy for these products, and these particular products have to come and align. And now we as contract manufacturing organizations are becoming more of a strategic partner to bring all of that story together. So when the curtains are raised and the show starts, you don't have a side artist missing, because then the picture is not complete. Everybody has to do what they have to do. So they are still the lead actors, but we are now playing a much more central role, not behind the curtain, but as part of the stage to bring the show to the public.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And actually, I would turn to Vincent for this question, because it would, you obviously have some really strong real world OEM experience here. And so my question for you, Vincent, would be, what did your CDMO partnership look like in practice? Like, how did it really unfold? You're on mute. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I just.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to bump on one of the comments that Gautam made. I think it's an interesting thing. We're talking about the OEM and these large companies, right? And I think, where back in the time, back 20 years, 25 years ago, we're still seeing these large companies able to innovate. But I think over the years, they became kind of risk adverse. Mm-hmm. There's no incentive for them, or I would say for someone working in these positions of, business developments, like to innovation, to take a risk. Why would they? I'm trying to remember for one of these large company doing a bold move beyond buying already a business that works, and I can't really find it. So what they do and what they turn towards is of course making acquisition, and even the acquisition market has changed a lot over the last I would say probably 2 decades or decades.
Yeah, very true.
Where we see these companies that are, before we're trying to buy or to acquire companies with a good idea and develop it, both commercially and, in any possible way. But now what they are doing is they are waiting for the only ideas that are actually already emerging commercially. So as a company, the strategy is totally changing as well. Because when back in the time, especially in the medtech environment, right, and even more in spine or like my orthopedics, having a great idea is not sufficient anymore. Having a great prototype is not sufficient anymore. So that means that we need to build a product that is ready to be commercialized, but also that we need to have everything that is ready to get to this point. So what we want is ready to have something that is being manufactured, that it can be distributed, that can go the whole process as well. So when we're looking for an OEM or for a partner, or a strategic partner, we need to make sure that we have the full view about this. What we want to see is someone that can grow with us, that can ramp up with us, that can provide us services from the beginning to the end, because we need to be ready to be commercially available across multiple markets across the world, and of course not only for one product but potentially multiple technologies.
No, it's an excellent point. So unless anybody wants to, I don't think we have any comments yet, and unless anybody wants to parlay off what we've just said, I do have a couple of additional questions that I would be happy to ask. I don't think we have any comments yet, so I will go ahead and ask those. Gautam, in your mind, if an OEM is listening today and remembers just one thing about how innovation has changed, what should it be, and what is the first move that you would recommend they make in the next, 30 days?
The first thought I would want them to have in their mind is, you are not alone. You don't have to do everything by yourself all the time. The world is there to support and grow with you. There are good companies out there like Elos and others who are ready to partner with you, who are ready to understand your long-term strategy, who are ready to invest with you, who are ready to grow with you, and who are ready to be flexible in modifying our long-term strategy and aligning them with your long-term growth plans so that our investment mirrors your needs. So in the next 30 days, what I would say is, if you are an R&D leader in your company who is listening, and you have a ton on your plate, which have to be for innovation to bring to market, I would say look at, again, the center core of your central planet, and then look at some of these satellites that have to be brought to the market. And think about, is something that amongst those, are there some things that you can look outside and form you can have all the lawyers at the table and form all the contracts in place, but keep innovation and speed at the heart of the discussion, and find like-minded partners in the market who are invested in every which way in your success for the long term. And if you find those, I think those strategic partnerships can help you accelerate the overall innovation. And 5 years from now, nobody asks the question, well, was this done within the four walls of XYZ facility, or was this done with a strategic partnership? I think the receipts are more about what innovation were brought to the market in the last 4 or 5 years. And that's where, having a cohesive partnership, a strategic partnership to enhance the innovation can be the game changer and elevate the standard of care across to accelerate innovation.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Thank you, Gautam. We have a couple of questions coming in from our audience, so I'm going to turn to those. And one is that under MDR, there's also new possibilities around collaboration and sharing technical documentation under certain conditions. And do you see this as opening the door to new collaboration models in the industry? That would be probably a great one for Bassil.
Yeah, this is what I thought when I saw MDR. I was sure this is coming towards me. Now, the new MDR proposal is giving us a door opener. Now, sharing documentation is not the case. It's not what they're going to be doing. It's much more actually reliance on data from other manufacturers, because Europe is reopening the discussion about acceptability of equivalency, which became a bottleneck. But now when we talk about innovation, then it's a different talk that we need to discuss here. It's not actually the reliant and copying another device manufacturer, because if you are innovating, you are creating something new. You want to actually bring a new technology. You want to bring a new indication. You want to address a clinical need, which is missing by your device. And the MDR is opening a door by saying, I have multiple access pathways, which we didn't have before. Europe never had a breakthrough technology pathway. Now with the proposal, we have the breakthrough technology pathway, but we have also in advance, we have guidance explaining that. We have also an orphan device pathway and potentially grandfathering opportunity under the EU MDR proposal to have some orphan devices moving to MDR. We have a fee reduction suggestion for small and smallest manufacturers, which can benefit from actually the future MDR, because they have prioritization, they have fee reduction based on what the European legislators are proposing. So this will move, actually, this will open the door for a lot of discussion. Will we have more collaboration? I think Europe was actually, a black card at this moment because of the MDR complexity. But when we look to the MDR proposal, it's becoming actually, again, much more green to have innovators as well as investors looking into Europe in a different eyes. In the past years, and I agree with Vincent when he was mentioning about who's the innovator, who's actually bringing innovation to the market. And those organizations who are doing that are actually either exits from universities or smaller companies or companies who are actually driven by investors in the background, and they are looking for a quick return of their investment. So they're going to target actually countries which can give them an approval first, because the device need to lead to a return of investment very quickly. And if they are in Europe facing challenges, they weren't targeting Europe first. So they were targeting other jurisdictions like US, Japan became also very prominent, and other places. And now by having the door opened again in Europe, a lot of manufacturers might rethink about where to start. And Europe will become, based on this new proposal, an attractive new market, because there is a lot of benefit connected to it. And this is where I see personally that this will be actually leading to more collaboration and more opportunities, and also more investment if this will become reality one day. So I hope I could answer the question of the audience, and looking forward for the comments of my counterparts from industry and as well OEM representatives.
Great, thank you. And it looks like we also have another question. Thank you, Yasmin. That question is, where have you seen an OEM or CDMO strategic partnership that is consistently driving portfolio innovation, and what either incentive or governance structure made it scalable beyond a single program? Who wants to take, Vincent? Unmute, please. Thank you so much.
I thought you were doing it. Sorry. Well, I mean, it's a challenging thing. I think one of the key, most important things for this type of relationship to work is that it needs to be driven by the OEM or by the company, right? I mean, we need to know exactly what we want, and we need to be super strong about this, and we need to basically provide that trajectory, that strategy, everything, where the CMDO will help us and will support us throughout this whole process. Whether, like we're talking here about R&D, about manufacturing, about, all, of course, about also regulatory. I think it works for a smaller company because, obviously we grow together, we learn together. We've been, especially for us, it's started from day one, and it has evolved. We evolved together in a way, so it really worked very well. But it's true that I understand the question for a large company. I have never really seen something working beyond a single program. They are great at saying, well, we have a product or an idea or something that we have difficulty to bring. Often it's like side product. It's not even like the core of a core central technology that they want to they want to develop and then manufacture. So it's I think it depends on the side of the company, on the stage of the company, or these kind of things. I believe, like for us as a scale up now, we're not a startup anymore. It works still very, very well, but because we've learned together on how also to work together. But I don't know about a large company and if this can work beyond a single program. To be honest, I'm pretty critical about this.
Yeah, no, I mean, I very much agree with you. You really have to start with a very strong structure of what exactly you need, very clear targets of what you're trying to achieve, not necessarily how to get there, but what you are actually trying to achieve, I think is really important. Gautam, I would imagine you would probably have a good perspective on the flip side of that as well.
Yeah, I'm a little more optimist on the big companies' capabilities than Vincent. I think I have seen for a fact in last 10 years how big companies have invested in some programs and those products are being used today in the market. Again, the structure can be, you have a design house you partner with, you have a expertise house, for example, if you want to do 3D printing, or and there is a design house, and then there is a expert technology house that can come together, and then those programs can be launched, and those can be quite complex, multi-year, milestone based programs where companies can innovate through complex partnership. I think there was also a question. The question also talks about which areas I have seen more recently, and what is the governance structure for this innovation. I have seen it both on implant side as well as on instrument side. There is a little more reluctance on the implant side because a lot of times the IP on the implants is very much tied into other. If you are an orthopedic company, the implant technology you're using for shoulder is most likely the same one you're using for hip and a knee. So it's very hard to go to a very small niche company and get the design because it's going to complicate the other ecosystem. So for implants, I've seen less, but I've seen it done successfully for sure with large OEMs. I'm also seeing more flexibility on the instrument side because they work a lot in isolation, even though the technology transcends into multiple different applications. The thing I have seen, number one, is for instruments, how you structure the deal becomes very critical of how many products you can launch in this kind of a collaboration structure. And if you are a healthy contract manufacturing company, forward-looking, long-term, strategic partnership oriented, the ways to do it is form NREs such that the P&L burden on the OEM is reduced, and some of the NREs can be structured such that they can be capitalized over a long term, such that it's not a direct cash drain to begin with, and that way you can launch multiple products together. And obviously, on the other side, the contract manufacturing company also has to have a good balance sheet and an appetite and a culture of innovation to support that. But I have seen it in implants, I've seen it in instruments by large companies and small. I've seen it how you structure the deal becomes very critical on how many products you can do at the same time. And also, I would say, even in NREs, there are milestone-based approaches. So some talked about incentive structure and governance structure. If you are able to create a good agreement between the two companies that allows both company to grow healthily and share the risks of failures, because they do happen, then I think things can be built around both for large and small companies for multifaceted innovation.
Yeah, no, great. Thank you, Gautam. We have another question from the audience, which is, do you think sustainability considerations are driving or limiting utilization of single-use solutions in orthopedics? And I think Vincent would probably be great to answer that, unless somebody else has a different opinion.
Well, I can start at least. I mean, obviously, all of our ecosystem, all of our, technologies revolve around also single-use instrumentation, single-use platform. But we never developed, a platform to be single-use. I don't believe in single-use, to be honest. It's not the point. The point is, I believe in value creation. The tools we're using should be serving the end goal and the value we want to create, right? So it happens that everything we have done ourselves better with some kind of polymers that we needed to use, or some kind of technology that we had to make single use. So that's a very important point, to be honest. I think that's one of the points. But sustainability is absolutely a super important consideration. In Europe, much more than it is in the US. Even so, in the US, it starts. And yes, if we don't have an answer for that, then that would be a limiting factor. But as we build the answer, then it becomes a facilitator. So I give the example that for our own technology, our core technology, so we built this platform for fusion, for thoracolumbar fusion, where we have innovated not only to create a single-use instrumentation. What we have done is bringing technology that allows to streamline every single steps during the surgery, right? So we are shortening the time spent in surgery, which is the value we are creating for the surgeon, right? And to do this, we created specific tools. And these tools, are by nature optimized. And so because they are optimized, then we, the overall way that they are made, the numbers of this instrument and so on, was providing sustainable benefits. So what we've done is, of course, we needed to prove it. So what we have done is a study, is a full, what we call a life cycle assessment study that basically cover, the whole manufacturing use of our technology, and we compared it to one of the most used system on the market, the legacy technology. And it was a 1.5-year study that was published in the highest ranked journal in sustainability and healthcare, and that basically shown that our technology are reducing the environmental footprint by surgery by 75%. So we are reducing the environmental footprint for every cases using our single-use solution by 75% versus the traditional system, that are reusable. And what happened after we brought this to the public and we published this data, that every single-use company, so-called, have been trying to use this and apply it to their own to their own devices and say, well, look at this, it's more sustainable, it's better for us, it's better for the environment, it's better for everybody. The reality is of course not like this. I mean, you need to do specific studies for each and every platform that you're creating, because not everything is done the same way. We are able to show that because we have much less instrument, much less steps. We are actually, have a very limited amount of polymer that is injected, etc., etc. So there's plenty of things that needs to be taken in account to be able to do this. So to answer to the question, yes, sustainability is super important. It's going to become more and more important. And I think we need to have answers to our customers, to our users, to everybody, because this has been for us one of the first questions that has been asked, and this is now something that we are the only one actually in our field that with this type of studies that can actually enable and facilitate the acceptance of this type of technologies.
Well, congratulations on that study, and that's actually really fascinating and quite great, because in not only improving the workflows, you're also improving the sustainability profile of the product. So that's phenomenal. I think we might have time for one more question. So I do want to thank everybody for giving us their questions. This is great. And I will go to this question, which is basically, when collaborating externally, what is the one thing that your function with, we'll call R&D, quality, or regulatory, consistently underestimates during planning? And what is the one thing that you consistently overestimate?
Yeah, I see my name in front of it, so I will jump in directly before waiting till you call me in. Actually, delegating, or let's say using external support doesn't mean that you are actually able to give away your responsibility. So responsibility remains within the organization. You are delegating activities. So what the underestimation of a lot of organizations when they do so, they forget actually how important is their role by giving the work away. So it's not meaning that actually I'm not involved at all. So they are still responsible, and they need to actually support the organization externally to make sure that they are reflecting their needs. And the overestimated measure is always like, how much can I actually give away and what can I expect back? Because sometimes their expectations are higher than actually what they should be getting back. This is why it's very important from the beginning, even if you are using external, that you define duties and responsibilities, define what are you expecting, that you don't get into surprises that at the end you say, I wanted actually to get this and I got something else. So you have a clarity on what is actually the activities that someone else will be doing for that, for me, and what would be actually my control and how I can help them, making sure that I get the output, which is actually important for me. This is where a lot of people underestimate and forget actually, and they set their expectation higher at the end because they were actually not defining the rules and conditions from the beginning. So clear rules and conditions, duties and responsibilities will make it actually a leaner process, because what you would never be able to actually delegate is being actually liable and responsible for the final output of what you are doing. And everyone else can help you, but you are still liable and responsible for the results.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bassil. So I want to be very mindful of time, and I recognize that we've gone on now a little bit. So I would like to maybe ask any of our expert panelists if they would like to just leave us with kind of one parting word or thought briefly as we wind down here. And why don't we go with Gautam first?
Yeah, again, I thank you for the opportunity, Jodie, to bring this panel together. I think the topic is about strategic partnerships for accelerating innovation, and the fact that you have these three people on the panel who are coming from very different backgrounds in terms of their presence today in how innovation is brought to the market. From different perspectives in terms of regulatory, in terms of a startup who's trying to grow very, very fast and optimize resource allocation, and then a forward-looking contract manufacturing organization who wants to play a more strategic role in product innovation and not just be a widget maker. I think this is a great representation for others to say that things can come together, and innovation does not have to be limited because of resources only. As long as the will is there, as long as the clinical need is there, you are not alone. We are in here for the journey with you.
Great. Thank you, Gautam. And Bassil, I'll ask you for a final parting word for the...
Yeah, thank you so much. I think listening to Gautam and as well to the holistic discussion that we had today, I can say if you are an innovator, don't panic. Innovation means you need to actually start working with all stakeholders early in the process. You need to actually communicate. You need to learn from others. You need to be open on discussion very early in the stage, because good planning means actually success. And this means actually you need to involve the relevant parties on time, like Gautam was mentioning. Get help, let others help you, giving you understanding and helping you, supporting you during this pathway. There is nothing which is actually impossible in life. There is always different ways to achieve the same target. And this is why if you use actually knowledge and experience by various stakeholders, this would make your pathway much smoother and you will be able to succeed. And I think every innovator should not be panicking by listening into MDR or FDA requirement or China FDA requirement. Focus on actually that you want to get to the patient, you want to get your innovation on the market, and this would allow you to succeed by using the right help.
Thank you, Bassil. And Vincent, your thoughts? Oh, muted.
Yeah, muted.
Thank you.
I'm like, okay, so thanks. I was just thanking you, Jodie, for all of this and my fellow panelists. I would say that I'm going to be brief. So I say, as a founder, I would say one thing. I say, don't let your ego get in the way of your success. You don't know everything. Certainly not me. So, it's good to go and look for this expertise elsewhere, but it is as important to find the right strategic partner. And it is not just getting, another consultant to help you. It's really about finding the right partner that can grow with you, that can, really help you strategize everything along the way. So, again, you don't know everything, get the expertise where it is, and don't hesitate to go and look for it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. There couldn't be a better way to end our forum here today. Thank you so much, Vincent, Bassil, and Gautam, for a great conversation today. I really appreciate your time and sharing of your expertise for everyone in our audience. And for everyone else, I will tell you that this is a series. This MedTech Mindshare is a series, and it will be available after, but also if there are specific things that you would like for us to talk about and comment, please let us know, because we can incorporate these into future episodes of MedTech Mindshare. So thank you all very much. Really appreciate your time today. And we hope to see you at a next MedTech Mindshare episode as well. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.